Getting set up, guys, making sure this looks good. Hold on a second. Sorry for shaking it up here. There we go. All right. What's up, guys? Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, so you know what that means. It's Technique Tuesday. It's also 420, so some of you may really be enjoying this Technique Tuesday. But you know, it's been the ritual to share some knowledge every Tuesday. And last week we did a special live mastery class over the mount. Today I thought we would switch and now work the bottom game and talk about the open guard. One of my Technique Tuesdays that I recently shared inside my Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Facebook group was about open guard. I shared a little clip of some of the stuff that I was teaching in my recent trip to Boston and some filming that I did for BJJ Fanatics. So this would be nice, kind of follow up on a little bit of what I was talking about there in that video, and give you guys more of a heads up of one of my newest releases that's coming soon with BJJ Fanatics. All right. So here to assist me again today, the young champ Felipe, and we're going to be talking about open guard. And this guy has a killer open guard, super dangerous guard game, and will be a nice training partner for today's lesson. Also, if you weren't on the live last week, you know, you might have missed kind of the routine. So I just want to let you know, I'm going to teach a little bit, and then I'm going to be able to take some questions. All right. I have a friend on the other side who's going to be jotting down questions for me and sending them to me on my phone. So I'll have it here, and I'm going to have to put my face all the way up into the camera and try to look and read your questions that are coming up there in the corner. I'll just be able to sit over here and look at my phone and answer them that way. So please, with that being said, last week we had some people watching on YouTube, some people watching on a web page and Facebook group, and it was kind of a little bit all over. This time we have everybody all on the YouTube, all in one place. So guys, chat with each other, let everyone know where you're from, where you're at. Some of you may have already joined the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy. If you have, please throw up your hands. Let me know that you've joined. Really happy to have you. And hopefully by the end of this class, I'll have some more of you joining the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy, and I'll be able to work with you consistently for the rest of this year. So that's it. Looks like I hear that everything looks good and sounds good. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started. I just got done with a pretty tough workout, training with some of my monsters and then hitting some row machine sprints. So I got my shake here. Let me just take a quick sip. And now I'm ready. I've trained, I've worked hard. Now it's time to teach, all right? Do the other piece of what I love to do, all right? So let's talk about the open guard, guys. What I want to do is follow up a little bit on the Technique Tuesday video that I shared and really talk about progressing with our offense while neutralizing the passion. So what I want to make sure that I'm always trying to achieve is inside control of
his torso, of the pastor's torso, all right? So if I can keep my legs inside this box between his hips to his shoulders, all right? If I can dominate that space and keep his arms out, I'm going to be very successful from my guard, all right? Whether that's attacking offense, or at the very least, keeping him from being able to progress with his passing, okay? Because when I'm here, he can't use his hands against my legs. His arms are on the outside of my legs. His elbows are going out far from his body, and that's really opening up the space for me to be able to set up my omoplatas, triangles, and sweeps, all my attacks, all right? So in the Technique Tuesday video that we shared a couple weeks ago, I showed you guys a little bit of this, and I talked about the guard headquarters, okay? For me, I like to call this the guard headquarters, where my feet are on his hips, and my shins and my knees are inside his arms, all right? This is how I always like to start to try to play my guard. So for example, if Felipe was in my closed guard, I would never want to just open my legs and allow his arms to start to work against my legs, okay, exactly. Now he can connect his elbow and his knee, exactly. And here, he's the one controlling the inside space, okay? So, for me, it's very important that I control that inside space. So if I'm going to open my guard and start to play a more open guard game and set up my attacks, real simple way I like to start is holding both of his sleeves so I can keep his hands off my legs, okay? And swivel my hip to the side just like I'm getting ready to set up a scissor sweep. And I circle one knee in and the next knee in, okay? So now I'm controlling the inside space, and it's very hard for him to get his passing started, all right? Now, inside of this conversation, I want to talk about how we transition with our grips, okay? Because this is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Many times I'll see people have good grips and let go and then switch to different grips, okay? The second I let go of his hands, he's going to start to use his hands to get grips on me and then begin his passing, all right? So I can never let go of everything. I have to transition my grips, okay? One hand at a time. And with that being said, from here, I'm never going to want to let go and then try to go hand on the collar, for example, without already having my foot on the bicep, because now his hand is going to control my leg, and I might not get this foot onto his bicep, okay? But if I'm here and I go foot to the bicep first, okay, and as that leg extends, now I let go and I come to the collar. Now I was able to establish my position, okay? I got my collar grip. Look how his arm is far away from his body there. This elbow is out with my shin inside, and now I'm in perfect cross-collar position to start my attacks, my sweeps, my whole game, okay? And I guaranteed that I had my foot on the bicep, all right? Instead of letting go from here and then going collar first and then trying to get the foot on the bicep. Here he's gonna grab my leg and I might not get it there, all right? So first thing is to make sure we're using our feet, okay? Use your feet on the bicep, then switch and go to the collar, all right? Maybe I might decide I want to stay with this sleeve, okay? Here I could play cross collar, or I could play spider with double sleeve, okay? So I stayed on the sleeve. Maybe I want to bring in some lasso, all right? Or, I just want to play with my spider itself, all right? I can now play with my spider successfully and transition my feet side to side. Notice I like to keep this other leg in, all right? And I'm kind of just going through a few different games. I'm really just trying to illustrate the concepts here. So, the thing about the guard is on the other side of this screen, everyone that's watching right now, we might have 50 different guard games that everyone's playing, all right? If there's 50 people watching, we might have 50 completely different guard games, all right? Everything is so unique to the individual, all right, in the way that they play guard. There's so many different guard games, so many different bodies, all right, long, short, flexible, not flexible, okay? And so I'm really just trying to illustrate some concepts and positioning inside of several different guard games to be able to help as many people as possible that are watching on the other side, all right? So for all the spider guard players out there, I encourage you to keep using this knee inside the bicep, okay? That way I have the space to shoot through and be able to attack the omoplata here, all right? I don't want my leg on the outside because now he can keep his elbow in and hide that elbow from me. Now I don't have any omoplata attack, okay? But if I circle and keep my knee in, look how I can open his arm, okay? Now I have the omoplata, I have my triangle, all right? So, you know, always being focused on keeping his arms stretched and using my feet, always having a foot on the bicep, okay? Trying to keep as much work for him at all times, all right? I mean, he'll have to deal with each specific foot and grip that I have, all right? And that's gonna make it very hard for him to progress with his passing, okay? And inside of that, I'm gonna be breaking grips, you know, and making sure he doesn't get a great control of my legs. So for example, if I was here and he had control of my pants, I'm gonna break it off. And then I'm gonna circle my knee in, okay? So I can keep that elbow out. Now I'm ready to attack, all right? Or I'm just controlling, okay? So always breaking grips and working to keep those elbows out. Now, we've already covered two different guard games, cross collar and double sleeve. I also have one of my other favorites, the 2-on-1, okay? 2-on-1 is another one of my favorites to apply against a kneeling passer, okay? Here in a minute, we'll talk about a standing passer, okay? So here, this is another really nice one. I still have a foot on the bicep. Now I've dominated this arm, and I have a grip that is very similar to a cross collar grip. I can control Felipe's posture here. I can pull him in. I can, you know, be very strong and powerful with this grip, but the difference is he can't break this grip, all right? So with the hand in the collar, sometimes he's gonna circle his hands in and he's gonna be able to break that off, okay? And then we lose our connection, and maybe that's when he starts to jump around and get some passing going on, okay? So I like to mix the 2-on-1 inside these games, okay? I play a little bit of all of these games. Probably the cross collar is the one I do the most, but I do spider and I do 2-on-1 as well. And they have very clean connection and transitions between all of them, okay? Now, with my 2-on-1, you know, I still have some of the benefits of being able to sweep him. I can pull him into submissions, all right? And I have this really great angle, all right? Another one of my Fanatic series that I've done recently was the side butterfly guard, all right? Another one of my favorites here, okay? You see I'm playing butterfly guard with this angle, and I can set it up off my 2-on-1. The other thing I like about this is I have this angle that is really hard for him to fight against, okay? A normal butterfly guard, here, he's gonna bring his weight on me, you know, and we can get flattened, all right? With the side butterfly guard, because his arm is, you know, across his body here, he can't put weight on me safely. If he brings his weight on me, I'm gonna be able to sweep him very easily, okay? So, that's, you know, one of my favorite games to play, especially against big guys, because with that angle, I can take the back and I can use their own weight against it, all right? And these are the 4 games that I probably do the most of when the person is on their knees, all right? And I have instructional series about all of them, all right? Guard Mastery does a lot of the spider, the cross collar. I have the cross collar killer, which is all about the cross collar specifically. And my new series with Fanatics has a lot of the 2-on-1
and how I flow between each of these guards, as well as the side butterfly guard, which is an older Fanatic series that I did at the end of last year. And for all the Thomas Jiu-Jitsu members, all of these sets you can find inside the website now, and you're ready to get started, okay? But what you can see is the flow, all right? And in the beginning, you're really gonna wanna master kind of one guard grip, okay? One gripping or set of grips, all right? So like spider guard, cross collar, maybe the 2-on-1, whichever one you feel most comfortable with, and just play that game exclusively for a long time, all right? And develop your sweeps, your submissions, and your transitions inside of that guard, okay? Every guard has branches, all right? These are the foundations, okay? And they have branches off. So from cross collar, I can get underneath to X guard. I can transition to De La Hiva, you know, and those are branches with my cross collar. Spider guard's the same thing, okay? 2-on-1, same thing. They have branches of little mini games that you can transition into from that base foundational grip, all right? And here's why that's important, okay? Because you know, you're gonna need more than just that one grip game, all right? Especially whenever we start talking about the person standing, all right? As they stand, it becomes increasingly difficult to submit them because there's more space between us. You know, they have more posture, they can keep their knees in front of us, and it becomes much harder to submit that person. Not that it's not possible, but much more difficult. And we're gonna look to use a lot more of a sweeping game, okay? Sitting up around the leg, getting underneath the person, X guard, De La Hiva, those kind of games, and take advantage of all the legs and all the space between their legs that they're gonna give us when they're standing, all right? So the lower they are, the more submission oriented I am, and the more I'm probably gonna stick with my foundational game, all right? Maybe like that spider guard for you. But then as they stand, you might now transition from your spider into De La Hiva, X guard, sitting up around the leg, so on and so forth. So I'm kind of trying to illustrate to you how you can start to build your guard game if you don't already have that set, okay? You know, and I believe that that's, if you're in a situation where you don't feel like you have that confident guard game yet, you really need to focus on that now, okay? Because it takes a long time, and that's gonna be a huge hole that you have, all right? So, you know, if you're asking yourself the question when you're playing guard, what do I wanna do, or what am I looking for here, or, you know, something like that, that's a problem. Honestly, that's a problem. You need to know what you're looking for, where you're going. You have to have that sense of direction. So that's why I'm trying to kind of explain it like this. Settle in with one of those base grip games, develop that out, and make your game when they're low, and then as they stand, you know, okay, now I'm gonna transition to this or transition to that. For me, because I had never had an instructor here, I never had my own black belt instructor in Oklahoma to learn from during my career, everything I learned was always in bits and pieces as I traveled. So I would travel, I would go here, I would learn something. I would go there, I would learn something. I would go to Brazil and learn something. And so my guard game especially jumped around quite a bit. I did a lot of butterfly when I was a kid. Then I kind of had a spider guard phase. Then I started doing a lot of cross collar. And it provided, it's given me a lot of weapons now, but back then I had a lot of difficulty because there were matches where I would be in a competition, and in the middle of the match, I would be asking myself, which game do I want to play? I don't know. You know, I couldn't make the decision. And that time, you know, of not really having them in my game and not knowing where I was going would allow them to get a little bit ahead of me. And you know, guard is one of those things that if you fall behind, you may never really get your guard game going. And you may never get the opportunity to do one good attack. And so having my game jump around so much was a negative back then. Now it's a positive because I've been able to connect it all, and now I'm very aware of how I like to play, and I can also look at the body type that I'm up against, and the way that they like to pass, and kind of know, okay, I'm gonna pull this card out, cross collar, or I'm gonna do 2-on-1, or I'm gonna do some butterfly, whatever the case may be, because of the way that they're built and the way that they like to pass. But in the beginning, you must master one. Don't do like me and jump around every 6 months. Master one, and then from there, if you play spider, maybe you might want to add some hand in the collar, all right? And give yourself another branch to that spider guard game, okay? So I'm just trying to illustrate it to you, all right? Let me check in real fast. Let me see if anything has come through yet, and then I'm gonna start to talk about a standing passer. Okay, looking good. My man is there checking for questions, so go ahead and start putting them in there as they're coming to your mind, and he's gonna send them over to me. So I'll have them here, and I'll touch on them here in a second. So, okay, here's one. Let me do this one, and then we're gonna start to talk about a standing passer, okay? Any tips for controlling your partner's posture when you shoot a triangle or omoplata from collar sleeve? This is from David Tierney. Great question. That's some of my best stuff there. Triangle omoplata, cross collar. That's what I love to do. All right. So let me help you out here with this, David, and then we'll move into a standing passer. So here's a bit of an omoplata lesson, okay? Because the omoplata is probably my favorite and strongest attack from my guard, all right? But it's something that, as kind of, I don't want to say basic, because omoplata is a little bit more of an advanced technique, but as common as it is, I've adjusted and tweaked my details for the omoplata several times over throughout the years, okay, to make it what it is today, all right? So here's what's really common, kind of the normal omoplata. You have your cross collar sleeve, perfect. Maybe you have your leg inside, the way I like to play, so the elbow's out, so you feel the opportunity to take the omoplata. Here's how 99% of people do the omoplata. They shoot their leg through, okay? They push the arm into the pocket, which is all good, but then they pull their foot towards their face, right? So they shoot and bring their leg, the calf, behind the shoulder, and they lock the omoplata. So here's the problem. This is the weak and light part of my leg, okay? Felipe can posture, and afterwards he can easily stand and pull his arm out, or maybe flip me over, okay, and get heavy and stacked. And then what happens is we end up in this battle where we're trying to get up, and then he lifts his head, and then we're always fighting, to get to a stronger omoplata finish, but it's a lot of work, okay? Why? Because it's the calf that's behind the shoulder, okay? This is a weak omoplata. Not to say we can't use this and do something good with it, but it's not ideal, all right? So what I've done over the years is I've really refined my omoplata to try to break their posture and make it more of a finishing omoplata right away in the beginning, okay? Instead of something where I just sweep with it or have to transition somewhere else, all right? So here's the key, David. Break the posture as you're going to the omoplata. So when I shoot my leg through, I'm gonna use my knee, okay? Use my knee behind his shoulder to bring his head to me, okay? To break him down. And then I'm gonna use the heavy part of my leg, okay? My hamstring, my thigh, to be behind his shoulder, all right? So I shoot through, here's my knee, okay? Look, his head's going down, okay? I'm gonna knee the back of the shoulder and kick my leg over, okay? So let's turn a little bit. What you'll see is now my thigh is over his shoulder, okay? As soon as I do this, I'm gonna lock my ankles and pinch my knee, and I'm gonna get up onto my elbow, okay? Now it's very heavy. The heavy part of my leg is behind the shoulder. Va a levantar. I asked him to lift up, and he can't do it, all right? Because it's too heavy. And I combine the weight of both of my legs by locking them on together, okay? Locking my ankles. So now it's the weight of both my legs behind his shoulder. So now it's very hard for him to lift his head. I'm already up on my elbow, and I'm winning the battle now. That teeter-totter battle, I'm winning it because my head is above his head, all right? And I make that happen in the transition. As soon as I get here, this is where I arrive, okay? Instead of making a weak omoplata and then trying to get here, I get here as I do the omoplata, okay? Now I'm ready to grab around his body and start to move my hip out and pull until I make him fall, okay? Once he falls, I bring my leg back, sit up, and finish the omoplata, okay? So using the knee will fold their shoulder forward, and then when you shoot the omoplata, you don't want to take the foot to your face and put your calf behind the shoulder, okay? I'm gonna really like kick and stretch my head back, so when I bring my leg over, it's my thigh that goes to the back of the shoulder, all right? So one more time, you'll see here, my knee, boom, okay? And I'll push his arm to fold it at the same time, okay? What's nice is that if he tries to keep his elbow in, I end up with like, he's tapping. You guys didn't see, turn this way a little bit. If he tries to keep his elbow in, okay, when I come through and he pinches his elbow, I just push this down and I have a little bit of a quick arm lock here, okay? So what happens is he's forced to turn his elbow so he doesn't get arm locked, and that makes my omoplata stronger. And as my knee continues to go, boom, you see how my foot goes over. Now I got my thigh behind the shoulder. I'm gonna lock my ankles and sit up right away. Now I'm winning, and I have a very dangerous omoplata, okay? Not something that, you know, he can just stand up and try to rip out of, all right? So I'm happy you asked that question, David. That's one of the things that I feel that I have some of the best, you know, details in regards to the omoplata. That's one of my strongest attacks and one of the most powerful things I can share with everybody. So I'm happy you asked. And that is something that I break down even more in several different ways. I like the omoplata from spider, from cross collar, you know, 2-on-1. Like it's kind of my base attack. Okay, so no matter which grip that I have, I'm always using my omoplatas as my first go-to move, and then the way they react from there determines what I do next. All right, so that's how I always kind of make my game flow. Submission first, and then from there I have my other transitions, and the omoplata is definitely my favorite submission attack from the guard. All right, you know, and when I encourage everyone to develop their omoplata and feel confident with their omoplata attack, okay, because you need a submission threat from your guard. And the thing about the omoplata, unlike the armbar and the triangle, is we can't get stacked, all right? So armbar and triangle, we're directly underneath the person. And so a bigger guy, or, you know, a strong guy, stocky guy, they're always gonna be able to put their weight on you, you know? With the omoplata, we're at an angle, you know, we're off to the side. So there's no way they can really bring their weight directly down onto us, all right? And then of course, all the transitions with the omoplata, being able to go to the triangle or go to the kimura, go to the armbar, take the back, all the follow-up, the sweeps, you know, everything that you can do with the omoplata, to me, makes it the strongest attack from the guard, and one that everyone should have in their arsenal. And then from there, you know, as they stand and try to lift and raise out of the omoplatas, now we can start talking about sweeps, okay? So let's take that and now go to the next phase and just briefly discuss a standing passer, all right? So,
if Felipe is in my guard, and I've done a great job of controlling his posture, maybe I've already, hit an omoplata somewhere in there, and he feels threatened, okay? He's not comfortable, and he decides to stand, okay? All right? So now I'm dealing with a standing passer, okay? What do I look for in this situation? Okay? Of course, I can stay on the collar. I can still omoplata him from here, okay? Don't get me wrong. But it will be more difficult, okay? And if he's strong, he has a lot of energy, and he's raising up and like kind of going far for me, then now it's gonna get really difficult. And the thing about playing with a spider is I can't control his posture either. So if I have double sleeves and he gets a lot of posture, he can now start to throw my legs and leg drag and all that kind of stuff, okay? So I'm just gonna push this back a little bit so you guys can see a little more here, sorry. Okay, so what are my favorite grips for a standing passer, okay? If I feel that he's getting too much posture, I like to go to the leg. All right, so my left hand here is holding his leg, okay? And with my right hand, I'm gonna stay on the sleeve, all right? So I really love this combination, okay? I call these the low grips, Leandro Low. He used to do these a lot back when he played a lot more guard, when he was smaller, lightweight, middleweight. I feel like these are arguably the best grips to really neutralize the progress of the passer, okay? And what else? Avoid headquarters, all right? Headquarters is a really strong position for him to pass from. That's why I teach it so much. And by the way, I think I was the first one, I'm very sure I was the first one to ever call it the headquarters. And now people use it all the time. So that's a side note there. But anyways, some of you probably, I get asked a lot, like, how do I deal with the headquarters position, all right? Some of you maybe were thinking about that today. And this is how I can stop the headquarters, because he wants to stuff my right foot inside his legs, right? So if I held his collar from here, it's going to be very easy for him to stuff my leg, okay? Now my leg's, it's kind of neutralized. I don't get to use that foot anymore, all right? And remember, like I said, I always want to be able to use my feet, okay? So if I keep this sleeve, I can dominate that hand and keep it off my leg. Now I don't let him have my leg, okay? And I have his pants so he can't run around too much, all right? And now from here, I can develop my game, okay? I can extend him. Maybe I want to sit up, all right? That's an option. This is a branch that you could take, okay? Maybe I want to shoot my daily heaver. So boom, I shoot my daily heaver. Now I can work my sweeps here, all right? Cleanly, okay? Maybe I want to get under. I can use the foot on the bicep. Boom, get underneath, okay? And start to make those transitions into games that we can't do when they're on their knees. There is no De La Hiva when they're on their knees. It's very hard to get to X guard when they're on their knees because they're going to be so heavy. Their center of gravity is low to the ground, and we need to get underneath. Of course, we can't sit up around the leg because there is no leg. Their knees on the floor, all right? So, my goal in today's class was to really give you a better vision of how to set up your guard game, what to look for, what it means when they're on their knees, and how to position yourself. And then when they're standing, what are strong grips that we can have to once kind of, first and foremost, neutralize them, okay? To me, I play guard, especially as I've gotten older, all right? When you're younger, you're really thinking about all the attacks, right? Offense, 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 okay? And it's funny because I actually made a post last night
I shared a quote from Master Jean-Jacques Machado, and he said that the more that he's learned in jiu-jitsu, the less that he uses. But in order to do less, he had to learn more. Okay, and then I kind of like described how I felt that meant to me. All right, what that meant to me, and basically, we're on a process. Our journey is learning and absorbing so much, right? And you're gonna try a lot of it, okay? You're gonna experiment a lot inside of your guard, all right? And especially when you're younger, you can do it all, I mean, I had a time where I was trying to invert and play upside down a lot, and use flexibility and you just think like so much of attack, all right? When they do this, I do that. And then I do this, and 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 I do this. And there's not a lot of just neutralization, and just stopping them, okay? And many times your whole game is the offense revolves around them doing offensive stuff to you. As they do this, I'll do this. And then when they get to here, I'll do this, and get to here. And there's not a lot of defense inside of your game. And so, as you get older, of course, you want to be, you want to use less energy. You want to spend less amount of time on bottom. You don't want to get put in tough positions, and want to be cleaner, more efficient. So I do a lot less attacks from my guard now than what I ever did, even, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even when I was already a black belt. I've kind of said, I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to do this anymore. And I've just made it more about making sure I don't let them get ahead, okay? How can I stop them? And that's why I love that sleeve and that pant grip, all right? Because I know everyone's gonna wanna stuff my leg and put me in headquarters. So it doesn't make sense for me to hold the collar and let them stuff my leg and then put myself in a place where I have to lift, okay? If I can just dominate that hand, I'm gonna avoid ever having to get stuck in the headquarters, okay? And plus, that's the hand that they're gonna wanna cross-face you with, so defensively, it's a very smart grip. And you start thinking more about things like that and just neutralizing them, stopping them first, and then developing your offense second, okay? And to me, that's very much timeless jiu-jitsu because, as we get older and older, we're not gonna do every single guard game that exists, right? There comes a point in time where it's like, okay, this is what I got. Of course, I'm gonna learn and explore. Maybe there's a way I can bring something new in, but I can't just up and change my game. And you wanna focus more on making sure that we slow things down, all right? I don't want someone like him running around my guard and forcing me to fight hard to defend, and letting the younger person keep it up on their speed. So how can I slow things down? By picking the right grips and positioning my legs the best way possible to where they can't ever get started, all right? If they can't get started and we can get started first, then the odds are greatly more in our favor, all right? So I hope that all makes sense. I've spent a lot of time, over these concepts now and these grips. I'm gonna check in on questions, see what my friend has sent over to me, and I'll start going through those and help you guys out, all right? Okay, so nice question here from one of my old students, one of my old online students who's was one of the first to sign up for the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy, and that is Andres. Andres, it's great to have you back in as an online student, have you involved with all these lives. But Andres, when he was first one of my students, he was like a blue belt, and he's gotten to purple and then on to brown, I believe. And now he's a teacher. So from really being a student to now teaching his own students, and he's asking, at what belt level should I push my students to begin the transitions from one guard to another? So I would say once they're kind of in that blue to purple belt range, you know, coming up on a blue belt, you want to just really focus on one, all right? Open guard, especially, like, you know, it takes a lot of time. And so to become a good blue belt, you need to have really mastered one guard game. You know, I say master, obviously you're not going to be quite a master yet, but one game where you feel comfortable, you have some sweeps, you have some submissions that you can hit successfully, consistently. And then as they're getting closer and closer to purple, now it's time to maybe start exploring others, okay? And something that makes sense, all right? If you play spider, then it makes sense to add the cross collar because that's an easy transition, all right? And it's a safe transition. You know, doing spider and then working half guard, it doesn't really make sense. Those two, they don't have a lot of flow between the two necessarily, all right? You know, so finding a smooth transition into another piece that they can add in, I would say right around the time they're coming up on the purple belt level or as they're getting closer to purple belt. When I look at a purple belt, I definitely want to see a more diverse guard. A good purple belt is going to have a diverse guard. So right around that time frame is what I would suggest, Andres. You know, from there they can begin adding many more branches, all right? Because they're going to have built that strong foundation game first, okay? That's the key. And maybe it's even sooner, you know, just really when you think and you feel that they had that foundational game locked in, then, okay, let's add some more, all right? What's the best counter to someone rolling through while you're sinking in the omoplata? This is from Joel McDaniel, all right? Let's take a look, okay? So it all kind of depends on the moment that they roll, Joel. Let's say that they roll right away, all right? Normally I would suggest and advocate not rolling right away because you don't want to give a sweep, okay? Always try to fight the omoplata as much as possible, stand, you know, and fight out of it, because then, you know, maybe at the very worst, it's just an advantage, and if it's not even that tight, it won't even be an advantage. So, you know, you want to try to stay on top and not give up the 2 points, all right? But sometimes people don't mind and they roll right away, and maybe they try to scramble out after they roll, and we'll look at a way to avoid the scramble whenever they roll, okay? So let's imagine I have Felipe here and an omoplata, and he rolled before I really got up and attached, okay? So he rolls, all right? Now, the problem is, here's the scramble. I need to get up, okay? And he's gonna get up at the same time. And if he gets up before me, I'm still gonna be down, and I never got my sweep, okay? So, normally we still have control of the sleeve, all right, with at least one of our arms, okay? I just pull him into the omoplata, so one of my hands is gonna be on his sleeve, all right? Normally, it's probably this one, and this one was just beginning to get around his body, okay? So, as soon as he rolls, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna extend my leg, and I'm gonna hook under his thigh, all right? And I'm gonna make sure I keep this arm, because I have to stop him from getting onto this elbow, okay? So now if he turns, and he wants to come up, I can keep him from getting on his elbow, and I can kick this leg up and keep him from being able to get up to his knee as well, all right? So it's really hard for him to get to his side, okay? And now I can decide what I want to do. Normally he's turning, okay? And I kind of have him stuck here. Now I can decide if I want to maybe switch to an underhook, okay? And then use that, come up, and now maybe attack this arm, all right? Sometimes as they turn, I might look to switch into like a Kimura trap, okay? Sometimes they turn, and I look to catch this arm and step over into like a monoplata. You know, there's tons and tons of transitions, okay? Maybe you know, stick them here, and then I maybe like deepen my grip a little bit, and then I decide that I'm gonna pull and bring my leg through, and now step around his head. I might go right to, you know, an arm bar triangle attack here. You know, this is getting into the beauty and the strength of the omoplata. There's so many connectors, there's so many transitions into other submissions and other positions that it's just really hard to have those same weapons from the triangle and the arm bar. All right, you know, if we get stacked and they're bigger than us, it's always going to be a struggle. But with the omoplata, there's just so many other transitions and things that we can do. And so, to me, the omoplata is a finishing position. It's an opportunity to end that thing, and that's because of all the connectors. So that's a nice little key there. Okay, keep that sleeve, hook their leg. All right, they're not going to be able to get up, and then from there you can decide where you want to go. If you just want to take top position, you can, or look for the next attack, whatever feels best for your game and your style. Okay. Good question, Joel. And congrats and thank you for joining the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy as well, Joel. I know you're another member, one of our new members, and it's great to have you. With that being said, guys, you know, these sort of live classes that I've been doing recently, you know, is really for me to give you an idea of what I'm going to be doing inside my coaching site. This is my last one that I'm going to open up to everybody. Now it's time for me to focus on my new students that have joined the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy, and I'm going to be doing these solely for them, to answer their questions and help them navigate through all the techniques and whatever issues or troubles they come up with. And then, of course, we record all of these, and I'll put them back in the site for them to review, and we're just going to keep that going and taking their questions, their issues, and filming new things, and really zeroing in the material according to what they need and what they're going through. So if you enjoy these sort of classes and you would love to have this access from me, please go to timelessjiujitsu.com, all right? Timelessjiujitsu.com. I have an insane offer right now for new members coming in, the VIP offer. Basically, you know, you join inside the site, inside the online academy, you have live classes for me that I do at home with my students, and I share inside the website. These sort of live classes that I'll be doing, you know, throughout the year, 6 a year, so every other month. I'll be doing one of these to catch up on all the issues that people are having and help them with the techniques that they're learning. So those sort of live classes. I also film all my seminars and upload those. My complete technique library, which is like almost 20 different instructional series that I've done throughout the last 10 years. All of them are inside the website, plus my friends, guest instructors, other webinars, all the quarantine classes that I did last year. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on and on. Plus Fanatic series, my old BJ Fanatic series. And if you join now, you will also get you'll get to pick 2 new Fanatic series that are getting ready to be released. I mentioned that earlier, how I just went and filmed out there for them. And I filmed 3 new series. So you'll get to pick the 2 that you want, and you'll get free access to those, all right? And each of those are $197, okay? So those 2 Fanatic series by themselves is a $400 value, and that's what it costs for a year-long membership to the site, okay? So all that other stuff that I mentioned is basically free, because you get the bonus of picking the Fanatic series that you want, and I will provide that to you included in your membership for signing up right now and being one of my new sort of foundational members, foundational students, to get this site up and running and allow me to make content directly for you. So please join, and I would love to do these classes for you all the time and help you guys have the best year possible on the mat. So timelessjiujitsu.com, everything is there ready for you. So thank you, Joel, for joining. Another question from Luigi. How to do triangles when you are disabled? I have hyperlordosis and very hard to do. How to integrate wrist locks to do counter defense, offense, etc., like in chess. Okay. So Luigi, I'm not 100% sure how this diagnosis affects your triangle. If you can still lock your legs or not. Sounds like it has a lower back issue, and so you're looking to use the triangle maybe to attack the arm more than anything else because of your legs, okay? So let's talk about that because, even though I have long legs, many times I would say more often than not, the vast majority of my triangle finishes involve the arm, all right? Because guys my size are heavy and strong, and they're not easy to just finish in triangles. They're gonna stack, and then it becomes more about finishing the arm, all right? So let me help you out here, Luigi.
Let's say that I managed to get a triangle locked, okay? Many times this arm isn't gonna be where I want it, okay? It's more on this side, maybe even around my body here, okay? And it's affecting my squeeze of the triangle, all right? So, Luigi, if you can, here's what I want you to do, okay? To switch the lock of your triangle, okay? So the normal triangle would be for me to try to get this foot behind my knee, all right? But this is gonna be very difficult with the way that he's pressing down into this leg, all right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come through his head here, in between his head and my leg, and I'm gonna switch, and I'm gonna grab my other shin, and I'm gonna switch my triangle, okay? Now, this isn't gonna choke him necessarily. It will increase the choke, because now I can drive his shoulder into his neck. But what it'll allow me to do is attack this arm a lot easier, because now I can switch my hip, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna now switch my knees, and I'm gonna start to bring my other hip down, okay? And bring this knee up. So now I have access to this arm, okay? Now from here, I'm gonna pull his elbow to me, and I'm gonna start to slide my hand down my pocket to get underneath this arm to where I can bring it up to me, okay? Now I can work on the reverse arm lock, okay? I can work on different, like when he feels this, he's gonna rotate his arm, all right? To not get attacked. So now I can bring it across and in a position where I have shoulder lock, I have the wrist lock, okay? Because now his elbow is on my body, okay? And I'll do all of that with this opposite triangle, okay? It looks wrong, but it's right, okay? Because the normal triangle here, if he tucks this arm back and down, now it's very difficult, all right? But whenever I switch my triangle, now it's stronger, and as much as he wants to stay tight here, I can cup his elbow, and I'm gonna pull his elbow open as I turn my hip. Now look how I can get to this arm, okay? We have the reverse, okay? I can also work the wrist lock here, the kimura, okay? This arm becomes all mine to work on, all right? So,
I'm sure that's an issue, Luigi, is, dealing with that elbow, and especially with your lower back issue, you might have a really hard time getting your triangle fully locked, okay, with that resistance on the arm. So switch your triangle, all right? And then from there, switch your hips, okay? When you switch your hip, that arm will become open, and then you can attack the arm there, all right? Of course, if they ever try to pull out, we're gonna have a regular arm lock, and there's wrist locks there, but that's all with their arm on your body. The hard part is if their arm gets hidden around your back, how do we expose it? And this is how I like to expose it. I switch the triangle, okay? One person I can think of off the top of my head who has done this a lot, even in MMA, is Vinny Magalhães, okay, Pezão. He has a very dangerous closed guard, and he's a very great submission artist. and he's done very well in MMA. And you can see him even do flying triangles in MMA and immediately switch his legs and get the person's arm. So check out some of his highlights, and you'll see him doing these techniques. Okay, so I hope that helps you, Luigi. Let's see, I got a couple more questions that came in. Let's see, a follow-up question from Joel. Would you say that this is effective when you're rolling with bigger, stronger opponent? Yes, 100% Joel. Holding that sleeve and hooking that leg is 100% effective, even if they're bigger. They're not going to be able to get up. It's just leverage, all right? Hook behind their knee. They won't be able to put their knee on the floor, and then you'll have the opportunity to get up. So 100%, it's going to be good no matter what size they are, Joel, definitely. Another question from my friend and student in Europe, Steve Newman. Steve, hope you're doing awesome. Steve's asking a little bit off subject here, but if your guard is passed and they are deep into the side smash, how do you deal with that? Okay, so more of a defensive retention style question. So if any of you have ever studied any of my passing material, then you've heard me talk about the ranges of the guard, all right? And as the passer, I'm always trying to get closer and closer, right? You're trying to, get through the legs or around the legs and create an upper body connection to where you're putting weight on them and we get into a dominant position. So the three levels are the feet, which as the guard player, I'm always trying to keep my feet in the game. If they never get past my feet, I'm never gonna get my guard passed, all right? But there's the feet, then the knees, and then the arms, all right? The arms are my frames, and my frames help me put them back behind my knees, like knee shields, all right? And then your knees allow you to reposition your feet, all right? And this is the game. The guard passer, they're trying to break through each of those walls. The guard player should be very conscious of maintaining those walls and maintaining that distance, all right? So what do I do when I end up in those tough situations like a side smash or a half guard pass, half guard smash? I have to have good frames, okay? And understand how my frames allow me to move my hips and reposition my knees and then get my feet back in the game, all right? So, for example, half guard, okay? I must have my knee shield. If I lose my knee shield, I must have my arms, okay? My frame, all right? And this could be hours and hours and hours of instruction by itself, okay? Just breaking down frames and, all the different situations where we must have good frames. So I'm trying to keep this short and sweet, but understand that your wrist is not a frame. He's gonna go through this, okay? And in many ways, it'll only help him because it'll drive my elbow and eventually I'll get flattened because my shoulder's gonna go to the ground. So it must be your elbow, okay? This is my frame, my elbow. And then that allows me to now have some of this hand left over to keep this arm in my control so it doesn't get to my head, all right? But my elbow is strong enough to keep him down in a way. Okay, when I say down, I mean down like this way, all right? Below my head, all right? I never want to let his head get all the way up above my head, okay? That's when things get tough, all right? So here, with my elbow like this, it's very hard for him to get to my face, and then that gives me the time to then bring my knee back in, elbow and knee connection, and now I can get my feet back in position, and look, I'm back to my guard headquarters, all right? So that's a very basic way to break it down and help you understand. So as these positions are happening, your frame's gotta be there, all right? If you're late to get your frame there and they get control of your head, I don't care who you are, it's gonna be a tough time, okay? A blue belt could do that to me and I'm gonna have a tough time. They might even pass my guard, all right? Because I'm late and I let them take all the real estate, you know what I'm saying? I let them have all my space. So my arm has to be there immediately, okay? So if Felipe was now
progressing into a side smash, okay, and bringing his knee through, I have to have my elbow here, okay? I have to block him and keep him from getting my head. Even though my legs are technically in a really bad place, I can still survive this, because if he can't get my head, he's going to try. And if I'm still protected here, all right, now I have the ability to move my hip and maybe be able to bring my knee back out, okay? So now my knee got out. It's not inside anymore. I got my knee out to like a butterfly guard, all right? Or, let's go over here. Or this gives me the moment to be able to now get on my elbow, okay? And now defend this way, where now I can get up, okay? And I can get more space, all right? Be able to sit back to guard or just get to a neutral position, okay? But it's because my frame was there and I didn't give control of my head, all right? If they get above you and are able to control your shoulders and your head, then, you know, you're probably gonna get your guard passed. That's just the way it is. So as soon as those positions are happening and they're arriving there, you gotta make sure your arm's in the way, your elbow is there, and then you're moving, okay? You're getting your hip out, you're getting on your elbow, and then getting your hip out, okay? And getting that space. You can also invert. If they can't control your head, you're always gonna have the opportunity to invert as well. You know, if you feel comfortable going upside down, that's an option as well, okay? But you must protect this guy right here, okay? Your face, all right? Protect your face. I learned that the hard way. That was one of the biggest things that Sensei Salo and Shanji Hibero taught me in the very beginning of my time training with them, because I had a very good guard. Honestly, like those that don't know, in the lower belts, I was a guard player through and through. I was the one that went out there and pulled guard first, and I loved to play guard, and I had a very good guard. But I didn't understand how to frame. I didn't understand how to protect my head. And so if you wanted to run around my guard, I had a very hard guard to pass. But if you were able to come inside into my half guard or these smashing positions, I didn't know where to put my hands. I didn't know how to protect and not let people have my head. And they would cross face me, and they would smother me, and then they would mount me. And that was the story of my first year or two training with them. You know, their style of passing was the perfect style to destroy my guard, because I didn't understand frames. And so two things happened. Number one, I said, I want to be able to do that to other people. I got tired of them doing it to me, and I wanted to do it to others. And that's when I really started developing my pressure passing style that I'm really well known for today. But I didn't even start working on that until I was already a black belt. All right, so that was something that came into my game very much later on in life. All right. Number two, my framing got better, because I understood more where I needed to be sooner. As one of those layers of my guard started getting compromised, you know, if I lost my feet, my knees and my elbows were ready. So then everything was already in position. So then if I lost my knee, my elbow was already there, okay? If you're late, you're late, you know. Sensei Salo already says that. If you're late, you're gonna have to use muscle, and if you use muscle, you get tired, and when you're tired, you die. That's pressure passing, okay? Pressure passing, you know, if they're late, they're gonna have to use a lot of power, then they're gonna get tired, you're gonna pass, you're gonna smother them, and then they're gonna get tapped. That's how it works. And so making sure that you're not late in those positions is a must, okay? And so that's where you can understand how the more you work on your guard, the more you understand how to be a better passer, because you know what you have to do to beat that guard, okay? And vice versa. The more I'm a better passer, the more I understand how I have to position myself as the guard player right away to not get passed, okay? And this is how everything complements each other. And when you learn and get good at one thing, you should be naturally learning and getting better at the opposite thing, okay? The other person's perspective. You should be able to be better in that position as well, all right? So always approach it like that. Anything that you're learning, always ask yourself,
what would I do if I was the other person? Or what should I do if I was the other person? And make sure you learn both sides of the coin. All right. So I hope that helps you, guys. We've gone over an hour now. I usually try to keep these classes right about that sweet spot there. And so I think this is the perfect ending place. Once again, please check out timelessjujitsu.com. All the information's on that page about everything that you'll get inside the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy. The deal right now, like I said, is just insane, and it will never be offered again. I'm only doing this now just to build the foundation students and the core group that I'm going to be spending the majority of my time working with over this next year, and hopefully, for the rest of our time on the mats, forever. It's all about timeless. And as I get better, I'm just going to do my best to make you guys better, and always be taking that experience and knowledge and putting it right into the website. And I have so many special things in store. In fact, Lucas Lepre is coming to my academy here tomorrow, and he's going to be filming and doing a seminar for Timeless Jiu-Jitsu, and that's going to be going into the site. And this is just the beginning. The amount of content that I'm going to build up over this next year and over all the years to come is going to be insane. And so get in now, because it will never be this good and this sweet. And you will be my focus for this first year. All right, so please check it out and consider it. It only has about less than 48 hours before this deal expires, so don't miss it, guys. And either way, I hope you've enjoyed this class and it's helped you. At the very least, please make sure you're in my Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Facebook group, and I will always be sharing and doing things in there. But for the ones that really want access to me and want to learn the most, Timeless Jiu-Jitsu is where it's at. And it's not just me. It's going to be a lot of people. And soon I'm going to have this guy filming something. So that's it, everybody. Thank you, Philippe. And thank you all for being here. Happy Technique Tuesday. And enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys again soon. All right? Take care.